What's up, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle Smith, and it's 2 in the afternoon. That's wild. We're doing a show today when the sun's still out. I am here with Kyle West. How are you, sir? How was your weekend?
Hey, it's doing pretty good. We were debating before we started recording if we had ever done this early of an afternoon podcast before. Adam said I did a solo show one time. I don't remember that, but boy, we've got a lot of hours worth of podcast underneath us, and I would be hard-pressed to tell you what we talked about 2 weeks ago, let alone years ago. So bravo, Adam, for remembering that little factoid.
Can't believe I remember anything. I'm still struggling to wake up a little bit, but I'm here. I might not be as chipper and chatty as usual, but I'm trying to make my way through it.
Adam Carlson is here. We're glad to have you, sir. I hope everybody's having a good weekend. People that are joining in now, I hope you're having a good weekend. I went to a show last night, and it was amazing, and now I'm off for a week, so I'm just on cloud nine today. It's beautiful out here where I'm at, and we've got some actual news to talk about on the show this week instead of a little bit of filler, a little bit of, I don't know, fun, but not really newsworthy stuff the last couple of shows. Now we can get into the heat of camp and talk about some battles we've seen on Twitter. And obviously, if you've seen the title, we're going to talk about Jared Allen today. This is episode 486, the Purple Cowboy, because Jared Allen was recently at training camp to speak to the players, and he was caught off guard because he was surprised at the end of a video with a couple of his highlights that he's going to be in the Vikings Ring of Honor. Gentlemen, what do you think about that?
I absolutely love it. I'm glad to see Jared Allen in the Vikings Ring of Honor. There's a nice little video up on Vikings.com where you can see him chit-chatting away with the team. And yeah, they pull up the video package, and at the end they have the welcome to the Ring of Honor for Jared Allen, and you can see it totally catches him off guard. I love it. He was a very dominant player for the Vikings, one of my favorites. The year that he had 22... Was it 22 or 22 and a half sacks?
It was 22.
22. You know, there was not a lot of fun things to discuss that year, but we had Jared Allen going out there going for that record to watch. And so he made some bad teams a lot of fun to watch as well, too.
Yeah, it's very well earned. He's a very excellent player who brought a lot of excitement to Minnesota at a time when there was not a lot to cheer about. And not only is it his play on the field, but his character as a whole that made him just such an entertainer above being a football player. And that's kind of rare in today's NFL. But did you see his comments on his 22 sack season?
You'll have to refresh my memory on that one, Adam. I might have missed it.
He was speaking with good old Chris Thomason, and he said that he wants Danielle Hunter to break his franchise record of 22 sacks in a season.
Good. I like it.
That's pretty awesome. Coming from Jared Allen, we see he's wholesome, he's fun. He left it all on the field when he played. But I mean, I'm not surprised at all by that statement, Adam. That's really awesome. The guys that come back, like him and Brian Robeson, come back and do things with the team because they're kind of legends within the community and the franchise. It's pretty cool, and to be that humble to say I want you to break it. I also like that there's a reality there that the game's gonna eventually, like, maybe it's gonna take 10 20 years, whatever, but nothing's gonna be set in stone minus maybe Brett Favre's record or his interception record. I really don't know what else could not be broken. Maybe Tom Brady's stuff, because I don't know if a quarterback's ever gonna play that long for that good. But
I found it extremely interesting, though, that the Minnesota Vikings have placed such an emphasis on having these former players and Vikings legends coming to camp, because it hasn't just been Jared Allen. They brought in Alan Page to talk to people, and they brought in several others as well. And to me, that's a telling point, because with the new coaching staff and the new GM, there aren't a lot of connections to the former purple and gold, purple leaders, people leaders, and things like that. It's just kind of nice to see this team embracing the culture of the past of the Minnesota Vikings, because there's so much there to really appreciate. Even though, and I won't get into it too much, that Jim Marshall was denied by the senior committee to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But we'll talk about that some other time.
Yeah, that's a shame. I did catch Jared Allen say that one of the things that Kwesi, because he was asked about, hey, what have your interactions been with the new coach and the new GM? He said that Kwesi, when he was first hired by the team, had like an alumni phone call. I don't know if it was phone call or over Skype or video thing or whatever, but I did think that was interesting. That it seems to be that he wants to reach out and bring the legends back to the team. And also, you look at Jared Allen, that he was one of the first big moves, I feel like, that Mark and Ziggy Wilf made, was trading for him. So it's fun for them too. You can tell that they like Jared Allen because of that.
Oh yeah,
he was their guy that they brought in, that they signed off on trading for. He talked a lot about how he really loved the culture in Minnesota and the way that they embraced him as an organization, and like that's what he was looking for in leaving the Chiefs. And so it's cool to see him continue to still be a part of this team.
It's weird to think that Jared Allen might never come to Minnesota if he didn't have that small drinking problem that caused him to have those DUIs and caused the Chiefs to really question his future. But I think that we've seen a little bit of that throughout Minnesota history, because Minnesota also got an amazing deal on Chris Carter because he had his issues that he cleared up when he arrived in Minnesota. And maybe it's just something to do with Minnesota and recovery from, addictions and things like that, that maybe there's an atmosphere of healing within the franchise that helps that out. But maybe it's just pure circumstance. I don't know. But either way, it's great to see these players get these opportunities once they decide to get their life in order.
Yeah.
I wanted to go over this, and I'm going to do the unofficial list because you can't leave guys off the list, even though they didn't start counting this until 1982. Like Deacon Jones, you can't not have a guy like that on there. Unofficially, all time, Jared Allen is tied at 16th with Ricky Jackson. He is 1.5 sacks behind the great John Randall at 137.5. He finished with 136 total. He had 88.5 sacks while he was with the Vikings, which is third all time, only behind Chris Dolman and John Randall. So he's a legend, and it's cool because we all believe he's going to go in the Hall of Fame. First ballot, I don't know, but he's awesome. He was a great guy, and he was consistent. Fun fact about looking at his sacks right here.
Well, he won't be first ballot because he already did not get in.
Yeah.
Oh, has it been that long already?
Yeah.
He was eligible last year, his first year,
I
Adam?
totally forgot about that.
Yeah. Yep.
Shame on me. I'm sorry about that. But the cool thing about it for his time in Minnesota, I'm looking here from 2008 until 2013, there was not one season where he did not have 11 sacks or less. 11 sacks was the floor for him, and that was 2010. And then obviously the next year, 22. So it was a wide range, but I'm looking at 14.5 for 2008, 2009, 11, 22, 12, and then 11.5. So we got the prime years of Jared Allen, and God, he was so much fun to watch. And I like that he brought a personality. That's probably my favorite thing about him, and probably everyone else's too, right? Not only was he good on the field, but he brought a personality, like a guy that can be that fun, rock a mullet and not care, and then also go into the movie like Jackass and just beat the shit out of Johnny Knoxville for a day. He was just a fun character.
He's a character.
We love him. And a guy like that will fire you up in the locker room. But what I took away, the two things, Adam just touched on it, and Kyle, you did too, is he said, it wasn't necessarily all about the money, but they were showing a commitment with the years because they were offering a multi-year deal. Hey, we want to bring you in. We think we can use you. We think you're going to be good for us. He liked that. But he also asked everyone out there to challenge themselves, which I really think is a good sign of leadership. And it really inspired me, and it made me think back on my time with the military, is when a guy inspires you and what makes you want to be better, that'll fire you up. He said, "Why are you here?" And he didn't say that whatever your answer was right or wrong. He goes, "You just need to find your purpose. If it's money, go after the money. Be motivated to be better than everyone else to get paid. If it's your family, hey, take care of your family." But he's like, most of us just want to play the game and be really good at it. And I really, really liked that. That was a cool speech. And it felt, it's typical Jared Allen. It wasn't scripted. So I really enjoyed that.
I think it's interesting, too, that Jared Allen kind of marks that transition period where players were defined by their position, and a lot more than they are in today's, where there's a lot more fluidity. Because we saw what happened at the end of Jared Allen's career, where they tried to take him and move him to outside linebacker. It just was not happening. He had that bigger frame, where if he wasn't down in his stance, getting that explosive push off the line, that it just was not his game. Now, Danielle Hunter, Zadarius Smith, they're both going to be playing outside linebacker for the Vikings this year, and both are just absolutely going to tear up the league if they can stay healthy. Now, are they going to be able to have the same kind of success that, like, maybe Jared Allen and Ray Edwards are having at the time? No, probably not. But it's possible.
You know what's crazy? As it stands, speaking of Danielle Hunter, he's number 5 on the all-time Viking defensive leaders for sacks.
Oh, yeah.
If he retired right now, he'd be top 5. He has 60.5, just above Brian Robinson and Kevin Williams. He is 19 behind Everson Griffin at 79.5. And then my math is terrible, so that would be 25 sacks behind Jared Allen. He's gonna pass him if he stays healthy. That's really not.
I believe 2018, 2019, he had 14 sacks in each of those years. I think maybe even 14 and a half, I think. And then he had a season where he had 6 when he got hurt. But, I mean, he's really struggled since the exit of Brian Robinson to have consistency opposite him on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm. I know he and Everson looked really good in 2019, but Everson's been kind of a question mark since then, and I don't think he's not back with the Vikings, so I guess he's a free agent. So
yeah, he should.
Yeah, he can keep working on his mental health for now. That's great.
It's more important for football. I was just thinking, it's crazy. You guys feeling old yet? How Jared Allen is a player from our era as a fan. Smith, we're like this. We're close to the same age. He's in the Ring of Honor now, and I remember when they traded for him, and I remember him playing his whole career for Minnesota, and he's in the Ring of Honor already, and we're butting up close to we'll be saying that about Adam Thielen, because I think Thielen will get in the Vikings Ring of Honor.
Well, Thielen did say that he felt like he was getting old since he has played with a player that went in the Vikings Ring of Honor, but he already did play with a Viking that's in the Ring of Honor with Kevin Williams, who got inducted into the Vikings Ring of Honor last year. So maybe his memory's slipping a little bit. I hope Kevin Williams reminds him a little bit of that. And Kevin Williams did say that he has one up on Jared Allen for getting in the Ring of Honor 1 year sooner than him. So it's fun to see that playfulness.
It is
within the Vikings organization.
I'm trying to think. Thielen would be the only guy left on the team that would have played with Jared Allen, right?
Possibly. I can't think of another one. I mean, I'd have to do the math on Harrison Smith, but
let's look here.
Got to be close.
Close. What?
So Harrison Smith was drafted in 2012? That was the Adrian Peterson year. So he had 2 years with Jared Allen before he went to Chicago, and then Carolina and whoever else he played for that last year. Yeah, it's really weird to think too. Speaking of Carolina, he did play in a Super Bowl, which was probably like a bucket list thing. They didn't win, but he did go to Carolina with that Cam Newton MVP year, which is kind of crazy. But
there's nothing wrong with chasing a ring at the end of your career.
Nope,
Kyle Rudolph's doing it.
Julio Jones is doing it. That's big news around the NFL. If you haven't heard, Kyle Rudolph joined the Bucs. I think we talked about that last week, and then
it's Julio weird. A wide receiver 3 signing is big news.
That's crazy. So crazy. And Julio Jones chasing a ring down there, said he looks healthy, so that's fun. But that's a good transition.
Maybe Kyle Rudolph will get his ring.
I'd be happy for him if he does. I don't have anything against him. I didn't like the general robot speak of Daniel Jones is the best quarterback I've ever seen. It's like, come on, bro. You don't have to lie to us. Daniel Jones is terrible. But
played with Brett Favre, I mean.
Yeah. But I get it. You gotta support your guy, whoever that guy is. But he's down in Tampa. Julio's down there. That's a good transition, though, Adam. We can talk about training camp because it's here. If you've been on Vikings Twitter, there is so much to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is your guys' thoughts on somebody revealed a play that they've seen, and they're like, oh, this is from the McVay system. This is the play. This is how it develops. They break it down, and everyone online is like, don't take videos and put it out there for the the other fans and the other teams to see. And it's like, guys, everyone's watching the Rams tape right now because they're the current defending champions. You're going to see familiar plays. It comes down to, did you execute the play right? And is your guy just as good like a Justin Jefferson?
Well, you're kind of missing a little bit of the point here, because the Vikings at their family training camp here on Saturday night, they posted up on their video billboard, please don't take video of our plays. And absolutely nobody listened to them.
I get that. I totally get it. I don't, and this is just me. If Dave Chappelle can do it at a special, you should take that away from people if you don't want it. Because they're not going to listen to you. I agree with you. I don't want them to do that. I don't think it's right. I think it's really dumb and ignorant of fans to do. However,
it does open up the question, though. I mean, do you take cell phones away from fans when they enter the stadium? Because I've done the black bag thing when I've gone to see a comedian, where I got my phone back after the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that big of a deal. But
right.
Do the Vikings closing off more training camp sessions to the public? Because that would not be fantastic.
I'll be honest here. I went to training camp. I went to training camp for a long time when it was up in Mankato. We had a streak of like 10 years in a row that we went up to training camp. And they've always had the rules about how, no cameras, no recording video. There's been a couple times that we were stopped by their temporary security people, and you actually had to show them on your camera, like, hey, I'm just taking pictures. I'm not doing video. Like, they would actually make you go through it. Now, the thing is, and the point that Adam's bringing up, is that as the years went on, it became a lot harder to enforce, because you went from having a digital camera to having your cell phone where anyone can take video on that, and you really can't stop that. If you ask me my opinion, I think that it should be more closed off to the public now, because they're not on the college campus in Mankato. They're in their own structured environment. That's really for the team to be working and gearing up towards the season. And I think less to do with fans going to a morning walkthrough at 10 o'clock in the morning.
But when they post up that, please don't do this, we don't want to give any sort of competitive advantage to our opponents.
Respect that.
And now we're looking on Twitter. There are actually like people who drew up the plays and posted them on Twitter and compared them to former plays for the Rams. And it's
right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm old school with the respect thing, or maybe it's just like a generational gap. I don't know what it is, but to me, I mean, that if you took a video for yourself,
that's fine.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
But if you took it with the intention of posting it up, I mean, come on.
I'm with you 100%, Adam. And that's the thing. Everything now, and I get it at the airport all the time, I cannot stand it. It's one of those rants that I go on. I yell at people, and I'm not allowed to do that, but in my personal space. But they see me and my dog working, and they just start Snapchatting. And I'm like, I don't know you. You don't know my animal and me. Stop filming me. I didn't tell you could do that. That's rude. It's kind of the same thing, right? If it's for yourself, somebody took a picture of me and my dog for themselves, I'd still think that'd be weird. But if you wanted to look back and say, hey, you remember, you bring your kids there. They're like 5 or 6. You can show them in a couple of years. Hey, you remember this? No? Okay, we went. But everything now, my point is, everything now has to be about clicks, likes, and hearts.
It is.
And it's so frustrating.
Yourself out there.
It's so frustrating because you're putting the Vikings' interest aside for your own personal gain. And that's where I come at you with agreeance and acceptance is I wish they would respect it too. I think the only solution.
Viking likes.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like last night I was at a show. I did a rant on Facebook today. Guys, if you're going to sit at a show and hold your phone up like this for 45 minutes, why did you go? And your brightness is on, and I'm making fun of old people because they do it all the time. But the guy has his brightness on. He's on Facebook Live, and he's looking at his own face, pushing buttons, trying to figure out how can I turn it around. I'm like, dude, put your fucking phone down, man. Just enjoy the thing in front of you because it's happening, and it's passing you by because you're trying to do this thing. But my point being, wasn't trying to disagree with you, Adam. Is the only way they're going to stop this is if they take the phones away, and that's what might happen. I don't know if it will, but if you keep leaking stuff out like this, they'll just be like, you can't bring your phone or you're not coming in. And somebody's going to ruin that for a mass of people.
I really think that you have your 2 or 3 fan geared events that take place at training camp now, and you start to close more of it off to the public. Because I know over the years that we were going to it, you could see it shift. And I don't know if this is maybe more of a reflection of just like people and society, but the fences, you used to be able to get like right next to the team, and then the fences started to move further
Yeah.
and further and further back. And about the time that we were done with going, there was a time, Teddy Bridgewater, I think it was his rookie or his second season. Well, he was out after practice signing autographs for the team. And so many people crowded around the fence to get to Teddy. And
Oh, yeah.
I'm not talking about kids. I'm talking about grown ass adults, like the 3 of us.
Yeah.
People who were getting autographs to resell this shit on eBay. That's what I hate. Let the kids go get it. So many people crowded around the fence that the fence caved and fell in. And we're super lucky that nobody got hurt. But you look at you look at an instance like that, and you go, if people are going to ruin this, and people are ruining it, then we need to change how it's done. And I like Adam's take, where hey, this is our team. If they ask us, don't post videos of this up on the internet, guys, don't post videos of it up on the internet. Don't do it. Like, I don't understand what's so difficult about that.
You were talking about giving autographs to fans, and I wanted to mention something kind of funny from training camp yesterday. This is one of the first times the fans have been in attendance to view training camp, and one of the people that stayed after to throw footballs into the stands was Dalvin Tomlinson. Because I don't know if a lot of you have been to training camp, but after training camp, a bunch of the players will come out, love these signed little footballs that they throw into the stands. And sometimes you don't know what player you're going to get because they're all just whipping footballs into the stands, But Dalvin Tomlinson threw a little box full up into the stands, and he said, my shoulder was tired after throwing those in there. I definitely ain't swapping the quarterback anytime soon. I got a good laugh at that.
That's a lot
That's
of
funny,
fun.
man. That happened to me when I was in training one time. One of my buddies was, a high school quarterback. He still could zip it pretty far, pretty accurate. And it gives you a new perspective and respect on what these guys do every day. Because you got to think, you go to practice 3 or 4 times a week, then you go to a game, and it extends from, if you're doing great, from September to February. Dude, I threw the ball maybe 8 times, and I know I don't know how to throw a football correctly. I don't. But my bicep was on fire. Like, it hurt, it was sore, and it felt like, I don't know, it felt like I'd put a heat pad on it. And it was like, what is happening? They're like, you're doing everything wrong. It goes like this. Dude.
But we got to talk about the atmosphere at training camp. Because holy shnikes, is it different.
There's a good sort of vibe going around this team right now.
Did you see the video with Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith with the water bottle?
That was great. You shared it with us, and it was awesome. It was good.
So they were joking around, right? They were both posing for the camera. Zadarius Smith called for his water bottle, took a drink, and Danielle Hunter was rolling up his sleeves, to show off his muscles. The two posed next to each other. Zadarius Smith takes his water bottle, points at Danielle Hunter's face, gives it a big old squeeze, shoots him with water, and the two are just laughing, having a fantastic time.
Oh, I love it.
My favorite.
You got the video of CJ Ham dancing the gritty going on the field.
I love that so much. That gritty's
team's
addictive,
out here
man.
having fun. I like it.
My favorite part they showed maybe 3 or 4 days ago was Kevin O'Connell doing the coach thing where he's going and talking to everyone, and he's giving people advice and critiquing stuff. And the first person I remember him talking to was Justin Jefferson, and he was talking to the receivers when they're running their route and they're making that stop to turn around and adjust, and he's giving them critiques and giving them tips, and then he gives them encouragement at the end. He's like, that's it, that's what I like to see, or hey, that was good, do it that way next time. And it's like, what is happening right now? This is night and day different from what we've seen before, but we didn't really see much of that either way, because most of the time we laughed back in the time of Mike Zimmer is you would hear him, we all love the Xavier Rhodes speech. I can go find a corner at 7-Eleven in Mankato or whatever, but I see this guy giving these young players advice and tips, and it's like the way that he does it is it's the perfect mentoring style for what this team asked for and needed post Zimmer. and he's filling that out great. I love it, man. It got me fired up, and I was just excited to watch. I wanted 10 more minutes of that, but I know they're not going to be able to show everything.
I also wanted to mention something that I found really, really interesting from training camp on Saturday. Now, I have watched a lot of training camps, followed them kind of closely, and I have never seen a rookie be granted a day off. But Andrew Booth Jr. was given Saturday off from training camp. And you have to wonder, was it soreness? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it was just because he's been absolutely balling so far.
He is, oh man, this is why I love this time of year. I love training camp. Andrew Booth Jr., we were excited for him, I think, when he was drafted, but getting to see him out there making plays against like a Justin Jefferson on that interception, holy cow. Like, I'm excited for Andrew Booth Jr. in Minnesota.
And what we're talking about, this rookie class, we've already seen during training camp, too, situations where they'll have all three safeties out there at the same time, and they'll take Lewis Cine, and they'll move him down to the box so you can terrorize things down there. This defense is doing some really creative and fun and interesting things. And with the talent we've seen already from this year's draft class, especially on the defensive side of the ball, oh man, this could be fun.
You know, the Vikings have been married to the 4-3 look for as long as I've been a fan of this team.
Yeah.
And watching them line up in a 3-4 defense where I don't recognize the formations anymore.
It feels weird.
It's like, I don't know what I'm looking at, but I tell you what, man, it's exciting. It's fun to see what this team is doing and how they're utilizing players and talent. We're talking about using Justin Jefferson in the Cooper Kupp role out there and getting him all over the field. And there's an excitement around this team that it was desperately needed. It was so stagnant there at the end with the Zimmer and the Spielman era that, like, I'm excited to see them play a game.
U.S. Bank is going to be ridiculous week 1.
Right.
It's going to be insane. I like that they brought him out to the stadium too. Let all the new guys on the team, even Za'Darius, you know, saying with that interview we were talking about, Adam, there was more, I think on Twitter, on their YouTube channel, where they're asking him about Jared Allen and, you know, things he took away. But he's like, it's really weird to come out of the home team side of this place because I've played here so many times. But yeah, week 1 is going to be nuts. And
did you see the real nice pass that KJ Osborne hauled in?
Oh yeah,
he had a nice day.
Yeah,
made some good plays on Saturday.
You know who else? Let's talk about this. Look who actually looks competent and looks like they could be a backup now. Kellen Mond is looking capable. I see a change in the throwing motion in this kid.
I've
Weird
heard
how that
things
works.
about Kellen. I've heard he's put on some weight. I guess COVID kind of hit him a little harder than we all expected. His recovery was a little longer. He lost some weight, but he's bulked up. He's getting an opportunity to work with the staff who
still struggling a bit in camp, though. He's missing some throws that he should make. He's mishandling some snaps. But that might come with time. I mean, keep giving him some time to grow and develop. And as of right now, the Vikings have said that it's an open competition for the backup quarterback role. I'm not sure how genuinely open it is. I think that it's a little bit more lean towards Mannion at this point, and that Mond will have to prove that he's better than Mannion instead of vice versa. But let's be honest, that bar is kind of low.
Yeah. If we're playing a game tomorrow, it's Mannion as your backup QB2. I don't think Mond is developed enough yet, but you give him some time. The rest of preseason, you get some work underneath him. He could flip it, and I think that, you know, partway through he could be your QB2 who's active on game day, and you can keep Mond as kind of or Mannion as your inactive quarterback.
Now, have you guys been keeping track of the battle at right guard?
Well, you know, on the flip side of that, I have, Adam, and I just wanted to throw it out there, and we'll talk about that more in depth. But Jalen Twyman came back, and he's been bullying people. Specifically the guards.
He blew by Ed Ingram.
They said he tore Ed Ingram up on Twitter. I'm just like, that's a tall task because we've heard nothing but good things about Ed Ingram. But yes, let's talk about the guard competition. I just wanted to say
Hey, dude, Twyman is a thick boy. Like
He is.
He's got some mass to him.
And
You
he's
look
got
at
that
excited
very
because he's
low center of
healthy.
gravity.
Right.
We're all excited because he's healthy, and like we saw him coming in, like he had gotten so jacked it like messed with his technique at the combine last year. But then he had that accident, where he was shot, and you're like, oh my god, is he okay? Dude, he's fully back to form. He was fine. He just had to take time to recover. He looks good. Don't know when or if he's going to rotate in the starting rotation or a backup role, but I'm just glad to see the guy. You know how come off an injury. It doesn't have to be for the Vikings, but certain players, they come back and then they tweak something, and then it's like, oh no, the injury bug's kind of lingering. All systems go for Jalen Twyman, and that was another exciting thing I saw in a couple of things on Twitter. But yes, let's talk about the guard situation, because maybe, just maybe, it'll be competent. That'd be great.
Maybe.
Apparently, Jesse Davis is the one picking things up very quickly in camp, which has earned him that works with the first team. So he's out there doing his thing. He's a veteran around the NFL. He's been in the league for some years. And honestly, all this is doing at this point is raising that floor, which we've talked about before, with having these veterans on the team, whether it's Jesse Davis or whether it's what's his name, Albert Wilson for the receivers, raising that floor a little bit. Speaking of Albert Wilson too, BC Johnson made a little bit of a splash on Saturday, and it's nice to see him getting back into the rhythm of things.
I've heard good things about BC this early on part of camp, and also Herb Smith. They both seem very healthy, and
guys,
this is all we can ask for, man.
Oh.
If the team stays relatively healthy, one or two guys go down or out for a couple weeks, whatever, just want to get a chance where the injury bug, like last year, the starting tight end, there's his ACL in preseason. You're like, Jesus, man.
Just to be sure, though, none of us are really that concerned about the Vikings offense clicking, right?
Not at all. You just want to see an upgrade from the already good offense that we had at those spots that were a little questionable, being the interior O-line, I think. And last year, obviously, kind of transfers to this year, because let's be honest, we don't know what Herb Smith is fully yet. And we all agreed that tight end is probably the weakest spot on the offense. But I agree with you 100%, Adam. I think the offense is great. I think Kevin O'Connell will make it even better because there aren't limitations at the head coach and offensive coordinator position. But yeah, I think it's just going to elevate to what it probably should have been more of and more consistently in years past.
Now, I know Wes didn't really want to talk about this, but we have to. The criticisms of Kirk Cousins so far during training camp, and one of the more interesting ones was how Coach O'Connell had asked Kirk Cousins to change up one of his progression reads and wait and play through. And Kirk had talked about how that wasn't something he was used to doing and how it kind of felt a little unnatural for him. And, of course, Twitter ate that one up.
Which I think this is ridiculous, because why are we criticizing Kirk for being coached? That's Kevin O'Connell's job, is to coach him, and Kirk is...
Because he's terrible, Wes, you know that.
Coached.
The GM already said he hates him, and he's not Tom Brady.
This is the whole point, though. This is why you get an offensive-minded coach, to elevate Kirk to the next level, to look at a part of his game where, hey, he would have checked down or whatever it would have been before, and now we're going to go through, I want you to go through your full progressions or whatever they're talking about with him. It's like, I don't understand why we're angry about the coaching staff doing the thing that we hired them for.
Wes, that's Twitter, though. Literally, if this happens, I swear, like I thought about this the other day, driving home, because I was listening to some Vikings podcast and was like, what if this is finally, like, think about, guys, take a time travel with me here, right? The Vikings haven't been that consistent in their history in the franchise of one franchise quarterback after another after another. There's been a lot of stopgaps in there. We all know this. It's happened before our eyes, right? What if Kirk Cousins was the first to win a Super Bowl for the team, and you've had Culpepper and Tarkenton and Brett Favre and all these guys, right? Vikings Twitter still would hate him. This guy can never do anything right.
And well, you touched on something that is very important from that statement that the new Vikings GM gave. Now, there's a specific reason that he named Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. It's because those quarterbacks have been to the Super Bowl and they've won it. Now, yes, he gave those examples on purpose because they have that Super Bowl winning experience. You're more likely to win a Super Bowl if you've been there and done it before.
Of course.
Now, is he saying that he wished Kirk Cousins had more of the same qualities as Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes? He did not say that. He wishes he had those type of quarterbacks that had that winning atmosphere around them. Kirk hasn't had that. So it's going to be up to Kirk to change that narrative and just play an absolutely amazing game of football and bring the Vikings to a deep playoff run. And then maybe he'll start to get a little bit more of the respect from people on social media and the analysts and the fans, because I know you guys are big fans of a lot of the football podcasts out there. And one of the biggest criticisms came from Pat McAfee, who said that he doesn't know if the new Vikings GM is going to succeed because of that statement he made. And to me, already saying that his job's in jeopardy because he made one statement and had to go and explain it, I mean, that's a bit rough.
That's typical exaggerative, over the top Pat McAfee.
That's also one of those statements that you make when you go 3-4 hours a day every single day, and you just have to.
And you know what's funny too is like it's just like, you know, we all kind of have a disdain for Colin Cowherd because he's corny and he's old. I mean, I don't relate with that generation.
He's got the Vikings winning like 16 games this season, so I ain't gonna yell at him.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. That's cool if that happens. But overall, he's like Russell Wilson, right? He's like super corny and kind of predictable. And I'm like, that's just not my cup of tea. But he also will say one thing one year and then a different one the next and go back. Pat McAfee do the same thing. He's had Kirk on the show twice. My favorite interview on the Pat McAfee show was the last one he did with Kirk Cousins. I have never seen Kirk be more likable and
mine's
cool.
Still Adam Cole, even though it was a work.
Yeah, that was totally a bit. That was so annoying. But
that's good. That's good shit.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I'm not into, that. I'm not into this era of wrestling like you guys are. But that was really funny. I was like, Pat's just he's a business whore. He really is. He's very good at making money and doing all the things, which I appreciate. But that was my favorite interview on the Pat McAfee show. Was Kirk looked likable from every, take your Vikings bias away because we want him to succeed as fans. Dude, he answered normal questions and he had a personality. It's like, Kirk, why do you guys hate him so much? Why does the general public hate him?
Kirk's season's already over. Yeah. I mean, he did not go and throw footballs with Justin Jefferson down in Florida. So, I mean, they're not going to be on the same page all season. It's over.
Nope. It's
so bad.
How dare he stay home with his family?
No, you know what? Kirk has always been a likable guy, and I'm not quite sure why some fans like to spin it for, he's selfish or he's a dick or whatever. It's like,
he was down there in March throwing with his receivers.
Yeah.
It's not like he stayed away from them on purpose like the plague,
It's also it's called the off season for a reason. It's the off season. No one's required to do it.
I gotta dive into something a little non-Vikings related for a moment.
Okay.
Have you guys seen the graph of Kyler Murray's stats based on when the new Call of Duty games come out?
No.
His production dips dramatically when a new Call of Duty game comes out.
He's just over there talking shit to 11-year-olds like every 6 months.
Seriously, when you guys get a chance, Google that
you have to send this to us, man.
It's amazing.
It's a thing. I never heard of this.
It is amazing. Awesome. It you know how fantasy football fans are. They'll track anything and try to find trends. And that trend with Kyler Murray made me laugh so hard. But there's nothing like that for Kirk Cousins.
Speaking of goodness. Good segue, Adam. So we talked about Kyler Murray a couple shows ago because he got this big deal, right? Hey, respect to him. He's talented as shit. I don't know if his coach is the answer.
Did you see they took that clause out of his contract?
Exactly what I was going to say. Thank God the Vikings don't have that crap going on in our atmosphere. I can't imagine how pissed off I would be for him. He's like, look, I want to get paid. I'm talented. pay me enough because this is the average now and this is where the bar is set. They put this clause out and they leak it. Somebody
They gotta ban
leaked
the
that.
Call of Duty from him.
They leaked that information of you have to study 4 hours independently. It's going to be tracked. And then they remove it. Dude, what kind of drama must there be between that guy and that team and franchise? Like, thank God we don't have something that petty going on.
If you're looking at just pure on the field talent, yeah, you give the edge to Kyler Murray over Kirk Cousins. But there is almost no scenario after all of this shit that's coming out in which I'm going to take Kyler over top of Kirk. Like, I don't want that. The dude.
The only thing I picture Kirk Cousins getting mixed up in is if like they did a Duck Dynasty reunion or something. That sounds like something Kirk Cousins might be into.
I feel like Kirk Cousins is like a big couponer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's got $190 million in the bank. He's like, honey, we can save 83 cents per tube of toothpaste if we go out by Sunday. Like, yeah. What's up, Lee? Hey, thank you for listening from the UK. This is really wild still. You know, we've done almost 500 episodes of the show. Well, those two guys have. I've tagged along for a lot of them too. But, man, having someone overseas watching the show, we really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Jonathan says, Viking fans are loyal and excited, but we are such babies at the same time. We got to face the fact. Yeah, a lot of them are. And there's if you ever want to see a toxic fan base, get on Twitter and start getting that trend of just type in topics to follow, Vikings, Kirk Cousins, and maybe put in Justin Jefferson. You will not see, there will not be any kind of lapse in drama there because everyone is either, it's like politics, man. You're either far left or far right, and they just go at each other.
It's even worse because there's so many media outlets out there, and I'll use media lightly, that use this to create, comments on their stuff, likes, shares, get their brand name out there based on just trashing a player or a system or a scheme. Or
Adam, whoever could you be talking about?
I didn't mention anybody.
I'm not naming him either. Fuck that guy. You're not going to get your name on our show, man. I like that you do Viking stuff and Minnesota-related stuff, but if your whole personality is poo-pooing on one particular person, hey, man, go be a fan of another team. Or leave until Kirk Cousins is gone, and then come back, because that dude whines like a mule, and we will leave the douchebaggery unnamed. I don't like that person. You guys got me out here turning into a Kirk Cousins fan. What did you do to me?
I know. Just wait, Smith. There will be a time come regular
week 3.
season, probably
week 3, I'll be like, fuck this guy, trade him.
Yeah, I know. It's coming. No, I wanted to talk real quick about how the expectations for this season have shifted, because I'm seeing a lot of fans and media who are saying now that the Vikings should be a double-digit win team. Like, we're talking 10, 11 wins now is the expectation for what the Vikings should be doing this year. And that's interesting because a couple months back, we're talking about how, it's a rebuild. If we do, 6, 7 wins, get a new system underneath us, that's okay. That's a good place to start. And now we're all the way up into the double digits here. So what do you guys think? Is that realistic?
It's a weird dynamic for me because the Packers are going to be slightly less good. I think we're in an advantage week 1 to win because we're at home, and Charlotte, I'm not dropping that dude's name on our show. Well, shoot us a message. I'll tell you who it is. Who is their left tackle? Bakhtiari. He's on the pup. He may be ready to go by week 1, but right now they're like star left tackles out. You lost Devontae. You lost, I think, Valdez Scantling. I think they have Alan Lazard.
Yeah,
the
he's
new
their
guy.
number 1.
I'm not saying that they won't be good because Aaron Rodgers he's top 5 in my opinion. Best to ever play this position. He is too good at football. But I do think they're going to take a step back slightly. I think you could count them for maybe 1 or 2 less wins than what they usually are at, probably 12 or 11 at least. I think this gives a very healthy competition for this team. But also, Kyle, Adam, you guys know this. This is a new system, yet again, a new coach. This could be another 8-9 year. I mean, it very well could be.
Well, you guys were talking about how the atmosphere for wins and losses has changed a little bit around the Vikings among the media. I had to take a look at how Vegas feels about it, and the line in Vegas still has not moved. They have the Vikings at 8.5. So if I don't want to sound like this guy, but if you got a little bit of extra money laying around and want to make a couple bucks, that sounds like a pretty good bet.
I'm telling you guys, I mean, of course, it's off-season. We're Vikings fans. We always want to bet on our team for being good. But it's a favorable schedule. I'm liking the chemistry that they're building on offense. Justin Jefferson can fucking will his way to this team winning an extra 2 or 3 games if necessary.
I hate that I'm starting to get Justin Jefferson burnout on the hype a little bit. I hate that.
I'd put you in timeout if I could.
Well, we have to be optimistic too. This is a good talk. This is another great conversation. I love this show so much today, guys. I don't know if you could tell, but I'm fired up. But think about this.
Actual news to talk about. I love it.
Well, it's nice. Baby. You know, it's always you're always gonna have that feeling at this time of year, no matter what. But with the coaching staff and you actually see positivity coming to fruition, and you can visualize and hear it in the videos. But think about this: people are going to hone in on Justin Jefferson. The cat has been out of the bag, but Adam Thielen, right? We talked about in the chat. I've seen a couple pictures, over under for touchdowns, yards, whatever. What I like is the depth is here, and I'm hearing KJ Osborne was a clutch number 3. I was in the Carolina game last year when he won the game for us, which was amazing. He is clutch number, might I say, another Jarius Wright-ish receiver. Well, guess what? His job might be up for grabs because BC Johnson looks good. And who's the other guy you mentioned earlier? Albert Wilson is like, oh my God, we have depth at this position. Irv Smith is better.
Amir Smith, he's back.
What's happening? Amir Smith-Marset, I forgot about him. Like, there's so much competition, and I'm so optimistic because let's be honest, man. We've said this a couple times on the show. If Jefferson goes down, my heart will deflate because he's a superstar. But
I've even heard a few good things about Johnny Munt during training camp.
All right. We gotta make a podcast for him when he scores his first touchdown, Munt Cake.
Oh,
there we go.
Yes.
Here's the thing where we're all shell-shocked as Vikings fans, and I can hear it a little bit where it comes in, where we're terrified of players just being schemed out of games, and we're all afraid that that's going to happen to Justin Jefferson because we haven't had a competent coaching staff in forever who's able to outwork the other team and put Justin Jefferson in a position to succeed. So we're all afraid that, like, every team is just going to Bill Belichick us to death, and Justin Jefferson's going to have like 500 yards, and that's it. We're done.
Okay, so you mentioned the coaching staff. We got to talk about this because this is baffling, absolutely baffling. Now, as you guys know, I was a big fan of Mike Zimmer. I loved his hard-nosed style, the old school way of playing. And sadly, it just doesn't work in today's NFL the way it used to. Well, the next generation of Zimmer is still doing this coaching thing.
And we have hit the merry-go-round of topics today. This is so good.
Made his way over to Cincinnati.
How?
Maybe as a favor from Dad. I don't know. But to go from co-defensive coordinator to offensive analyst. What?
Neither of those are real positions.
That's the thing that started, guys. Let's talk about that just a little deeper too. Have we ever heard, because Bill Belichick is the pioneer of this right now. You know how he's not naming positions for coaches now? Like, this is my defensive coordinator. This is my offensive coordinator. So this has been a big topic outside of Vikings world because Bill Belichick can do whatever the hell he wants. But Matt Patricia's back. I've seen him personally on Twitter running the O-line and then running the offense. I'm like, dude, you're a defensive coordinator. What are you doing? But are we shifting to we just don't have roles anymore and everything is fluid? Or is it,
I don't know, man.
Well, I just need to get this guy onto my staff and I'm just going to give him
sometimes
some bullshit
title, I think it's a case by case, and sometimes you can tell when coaches are doing favors for other coaches and just getting them on the roster. Remember when Brad Childress ended up as Andy Reid, was it in Kansas City or something?
The Mike Singletary thing?
Yep.
Well, yeah, the Mike Singletary thing, but then Brad Childress was hired as a spread game analyst.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Like, assistant or something. And then what does that even mean? Singletary's position on the Vikings?
He was it was something to do with linebackers, but it wasn't linebackers coach.
Yeah, but it was also like the worst year Chad Greenway had.
Oh yeah, it was terrible.
Was the year that they brought in Mike Singletary.
Sometimes the jokes write themselves, man.
Yeah.
God, that's funny.
Do you guys really think that Adam Zimmer?
Yeah, because Joe Burrow needs all the help, and
Gotcha.
Jamar Chase is just not bright enough.
Yeah,
I
God.
don't know, dude.
You know, good for him though. Like, I know we're pooping on him right now, but good for him for going to a place that's like, especially that place that his dad has history at. But they were the
really
dumpster.
such a weird tangent, though.
It is. I'm with you there, but I think it's cool because
Mike
they're turning the corner and the system around there, because Cincinnati was the dumpster of that division.
Oh yeah,
right alongside Cleveland forever. And now, like, dude, they were just in the Super Bowl. Like, they haven't been in the Super Bowl since like 91 or something like that. It's wild.
They put him in a position where he has to do essentially nothing.
Yeah.
And that team is going to do good.
And guess what, Kyle? Somebody else will hire him because he worked with Joe Burrow for X number of seasons.
Yep.
100%. And we should have gotten to coaching, because you can make really good money and just be like, here's my resume. Who needs this? Here we go. And, you know,
look,
that's
Adam
another
Zimmer,
weird thing we talked about the other day. We're thinking about is Kevin O'Connell's young, right? Like Ed Donatel has been in the league forever. Isn't it weird? It made me think of that Hugh Jackson like video that was super cringeworthy. He's like, I'm the coach. I sit at the head of the table. It's like, do you understand how much knowledge is in the room? How about we use it all together? And I don't undermine you with petty things and a hierarchy here. Like, oh, that's so funny.
I don't know.
It does kind of make me wonder how you go from co-defensive coordinator, and then the team that had you on as co-defensive coordinator couldn't find a role for you. So you go and hop into this
out completely
team that's just made up a role for you. It's strange to me.
If it had been any other team, I don't know that I would have cared as much, but it's like you said, it's like, yeah, it's Mike. Adam needs a job. Offensive assistant sounds good. Whoop. Text. Hey, call the Bengals.
So if he's offensive assistant, does that mean like, hey, I need you to go make 20 copies of this paper and like, can you?
No, he will analyze the paper and return it.
He's gonna
be the guy that keeps all the tablets charged on the sideline on Sunday.
What stock of paper is this? It needs to be a little thicker.
Oh, jeez.
We are all giddy and happy today, and it's
still strange. So Mike Zimmer's still unemployed despite saying he wants to work. Rick Spielman, I don't think he's gotten a sniff since that initial Jacksonville thing.
Well, he's not doing himself any favors by being on the talk. I'll tell you that.
You don't want to watch him on the TikTok doing the dance?
You know,
I don't have him followed, but I'm assuming he's still doing his thing.
What is that horror movie that came out recently? Was it Bird Box with Sandra Bullock?
Yeah.
If you had to open my eyes and force them to watch that, that's what would kill me. Watching him dance on TikTok. It's so, dude, it makes me so uncomfortable. So uncomfortable.
I really thought his brother was going to do him a solid, who's in Detroit. And like we would have seen Rick end up in some made up
commentary analysis role for a TV station or something.
Yeah, or that too.
Well, it would have been totally cliche too to go within the division too. That's such a move that I could see him doing.
Maybe he could get in the booth next to Paul Allen.
Ugh.
They could cry together.
No. God.
Here's the
and not
thing.
Find a loss on the roster together.
Here's the thing, and boy, I can't wait to not talk about either of these two anymore. But Zimmer, I still think, is an asset as a defensive coach somewhere in this league. Either as a defensive coordinator or a defensive assistant or something like. He's an asset. I do think he'll get a job.
But I think teams can have seen what Zimmer can do enough that they can kind of extract his A-gap blitzes and some of his techniques and adjust them in without actually hiring him.
Well, you're right. He is definitely still an asset, because I remember watching one of Aaron Rodgers' interviews last year when they played us. I think it was at the one at home. And he was like, dude, I've been playing that dude for a long time, and I didn't know what the hell this thing was. He was talking about one of the blitzes, and I was like,
Yeah.
For as shitty of a season as it was at its worst points last year, he's still pretty fucking good at what he does because some of those, like, I can, this is where I empathize with Mike Zimmer so much. You know how bad his, like, stress level and his, like, blood pressure went up when the kicker keeps missing game winners. And then, like, Cameron Dantzler gives up the last play in Detroit. I cannot imagine the curse words that came out of that dude's mouth.
Now,
and like, oh my God.
You mentioned something kind of interesting there because Patrick Peterson had come on and mentioned that the defense now is much more simplified. The roles that each player has to play isn't as complicated. And we saw when Mike Zimmer was there, people like Mackenzie Alexander that just walked in and tried to get things figured out. And a lot of what he needed to do was very complicated. Mike Zimmer openly criticized him about that to the media and talked about how they need to run a kindergarten-style defense and things like that. And now a lot of this is starting to make a lot more sense, but
forgot about that quote.
We got this system now that's much more simplified, but yet leans on responsibility for players. But it's not the same hard-nosed Zimmer defense where it's just accountability for what you're doing. It's also praise for what you're doing right. And it'll be interesting to see how this newer generation of players reacts to this style of, I don't know if I'll say criticism, but the style of coaching, because we haven't seen that in Minnesota since the locker room ran absolutely crazy under the Pringles guy, and it's just, ugh.
It's great, though? I've already seen that with the defense twice. We've heard highlights, like Zadarius Smith got a PBU or what be a tackle for loss. Neil Hunter would have gotten a sack here. But I've seen it with two of the young corners in Booth and then also Dantzler. Dantzler had a beautiful breakup on Adam Thielen, and Adam Thielen is no slouch, The Booth just comes in and he's just like metaphorically holding his junk in his hand. He's like, I'm here, motherfuckers. What are you going to do about it? And I'm just like, I love this kid, but I couldn't believe, like, when you say rookie corner and you put him on Justin Jefferson, I'm thinking, oh, he's about to cook him. And everything that I read about one of those days with Booth shadowing Jefferson was he stuck to him like glue. And
Booth is saying all the right things. He said, right now I understand I'm behind Cameron Dantzler on the depth chart, but my goal is to pass him.
Yeah.
And I will keep working hard, and I will earn that role. And then he said,
got into it with Amir Smith.
Oh, yeah. He taking it very seriously.
Yeah.
Smith, but he also said that when he's done playing in the NFL, that he wants a career as an actor.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
To have the awareness of that is really cool because, football players don't have a long, long career. There's anomalies out there, but mostly. I thought that was really interesting.
Because there have been some Vikings players that have gone on to have real good careers as actors.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not all of them should maybe introduce draft picks. But still, there's some good ones out there.
Really excited to watch Booth this year. No doubt he wins the job over Cam. I mean, I like that. That's a good problem to have. That's a great problem to have.
You basically need 3 starting corners.
Well,
I don't know if it really matters what the shakedown is on who's 1, 2, or 3.
When the 2011 season got over, boy, was I scared for the depth at corner. I was absolutely terrified. Then they hire back Patrick Peterson. I'm like, all right, that's a decent contract. Then they draft Booth, and it's like, oh, all right. Then they get Chandon Sullivan from the Packers, and it's like, okay. So, yeah, I don't have that big fear of the secondary in Minnesota that I had before. But, man, that was looking so bad.
Adam, I wanted to echo something you said talking about the defense and, the responsibility, because we talked about Zadarius Smith earlier. What I really liked watching his interview, it just came back to me, remembering watching the on-field interview. He goes, he's asking, one of the reporters asked, what do you think about these young guys in the secondary? He goes, we have an agreement. He goes, I like them. I'm coaching with them. I'm playing with them. I'm mentoring them. He goes, you do your job and I'll do mine. He goes, if I do my job, you guys can run around and wreak havoc. He goes, if you do your job, maybe I'm not necessarily beat on a play, but I'm having a tough go. you helped me out. And that's such a cool thing to talk about. He's like, the point being, when we both do our jobs, he's like, we're gonna mess people up. And I really appreciated that coming from a guy who's like, yeah, he's a star player in the league, and we acquired him in free agency. I can't believe he came over from Green Bay, but that was a really cool sentiment too, to be like, I like the young guys, and we have this understanding of just do your job. I really love that. Before we go,
a lot of really cool leadership on this team, coming from not even only the veterans that you'd expect it from, but from players and coaches that just arrived. And this culture in Minnesota that I thought would take longer to develop seems to be coming together much quicker than I thought it would. And I'm excited to see what they can do.
I tell you what has me excited real quick about Booth before we wrap the show up is that I agree with what I think it was Smith said earlier. I like the dog mentality when you get a rookie who comes in who's like, hey, I'm here and I'm just going to go out and like, I'm going to be better than the people around me and I'm going to fuck some players up occasionally on the team. I remember when Harrison Smith came in his rookie year in training camp and he went right at Percy Harvin. Right out there on the field, and Percy got up and got in his face, and Harrison Smith didn't back down at all from that challenge. I like that. I like that Booth is bringing that mentality to the team. We've been missing that sort of toughness on this team for a while now, which is weird because Zimmer was supposed to be that tough, hard-nosed coach, and it's like he beat that out of his players.
Yeah, I could 100% agree with that sentiment altogether, because Mike Zimmer, I feel like, would have thrived if we didn't have a salary cap and he could just get all the really good players that understood all the complexities.
But he couldn't keep a cornerback on the roster.
That's the biggest knock, man.
How many?
You had a winning record and you had some like very little but decent playoff success, not as consistently as we wanted. But you're the cornerback guru, bro. You're the I coach Deion Sanders guy. Like, that should be a no-brainer.
He started out doing good. I mean, Xavier Rhodes was having a little bit of a downturn, and Zimmer came in and helped shine him up and fix him, and he got some good years out of Rhodes there, too.
Waynes was better than people give credit for.
Yeah. But, man, it all kind of fell apart after that, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, there's still stuff that we could talk about from training camp, like Jordan Hicks returning from injury and, you know, how all that shook out with players missing time. But I mean, we're going over an hour, so we'll save some stuff for next time.
I have a fun nugget that I accidentally fell into the other day, and I'd like to share with you guys. So, Kirk Cousins here. I'm going to look at him one more time and look.
He is handsome.
He is a handsome guy. So he spent 6 years in Washington, 2012 to 2017. He came over to Minnesota in 2018. So, fun fact and nugget, it's not even a question. He came over from the Washington football team, now Commanders, with 99 touchdowns. Did you know that his 100th touchdown was his very first one that he threw as a Viking?
Yeah, I wrote that in an article.
Adam knows it.
Who did he throw it to?
I don't know. I just went to add up yesterday. I was like,
I don't remember.
I forget what it was. They were comparing people. You know, they do the thing now because Matt Stafford has a ring, and they're like, is he elite? Is he not? It's like, okay, let's not do that yet because he's not retired. But I was trying to look at the touchdown to interception ratio because it was Patrick Mahomes. They're like first 200 touchdowns, and he has like only this many interceptions. Wild. So I was like, I wonder what has Kirk went over 200 touchdowns? Yes, he's over 200. So I was like, okay, he's getting up there. I think he can finish his career with 300 plus. But I was like looking and I added it up. First 2 years, 4 touchdowns, 10. And I was like, that math looks kind of close to 100. Yeah, his 100th touchdown pass was his very first one that he threw as a Viking in 2018. It's pretty cool.
Definitely pretty cool.
That's a good trivia question. I should post that up on the Facebook page if I find the answer. Who did Kirk Cousins throw his 100th touchdown pass to?
I like it.
That's all I got, man. We'll come back at some point next week. I'm going to be on vacation this week, seeing my son. So maybe next weekend, if you guys want. We don't have to make anything in stone now, but we'll be back with more training camp updates, and we are inching closer and closer. It's the last day of July, so August will be in full swing. We'll be getting closer to preseason, and football's in the air, man.
Is it like 6 weeks away now?
Yeah.
Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Well, I do want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who joined us in the chat. Got a lot of people on here from the YouTubes, which is great. We're also on Facebook Live. And you can be like Silky Johns there and join us on the Twitter or on the Twitch. Don't get to see that purple icon too often, but I love seeing it in chat. So thank you to that. You can check out everything I do at MN Viking Zombie. That's Twitch, that's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I'm all over the place. My TikTok gets a little cringe, so just a heads up there. But I try to have some fun with it.
Cringe?
I don't dance.
That's a shame.
So that's a plus.
Maybe if you shoot him a DM, he'll teach you how.
Now, I had been doing training camp reviews over on the Viking Age. We're going to stop doing those for now. Over on Undead Walking, I just had a piece come out yesterday ranking all the episodes from season 1 of The Walking Dead, which was a fun little piece to write and a nice little walk down memory lane because I hadn't watched those episodes in a while. But every once in a while, it's nice to go back and check out things you really love. But speaking of things I really love, I'm gonna squeeze in a little nugget here as well. I don't know if you guys watched former Vikings Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam last night, but that was quite a fun last man standing match between those two, where a front end loader got used to lift up a corner of the ring and throw a wrestler outside.
I love it. That was entertaining. I'm going to sign up for the network, Adam, and I think I'm going to watch SummerSlam after we get done recording. You sold me on it.
So that was definitely interesting because I've never seen them integrate a front end loader into a wrestling match.
I can't believe SummerSlam was on a Saturday night.
Yeah, they've been moving some of those pay-per-views to Saturdays.
That's how old I am.
Premium live events are no longer pay-per-views.
No, you know what? Vince is gone. It's a fucking pay-per-view. Call it that again.
I'm that old. I remember Sunday nights and being like, I get to get all of my wrestling in when I was younger before school tomorrow and have something to talk about.
And you also, on that same card, could see two former Indianapolis Colts wrestle together as Baron Corbin took on Pat McAfee.
That's awesome.
And that match was pretty darn good, too. So,
is Pat a good wrestler?
He's good.
Yeah. Dude's a natural athlete, and he grew up. I mean, he's
no Paul brother, but he's all right.
Yeah. He's always been a wrestling fan, so you can tell that he's passionate about wanting to go out there and do a good job. So he seems like he applies himself like the same way he did in punting. He applies himself to being a wrestler, and it turns out he's a damn good punter. That work ethic helps him quite a bit in figuring out the wrestling stuff too.
It just made me think back to back when Triple H was right in his prime after Shawn Michaels got hurt. They were doing that show where they were it's basically like Tough Enough or whatever. And it's like they're teaching people how to take bumps. He's like, by the way, your nuts hanging out.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like,
but if you get a chance, check out McAfee's stuff against the Undisputed Era back in NXT, because he was a little bit more raw there. But they gave him a lot of freedom to do some really fun things.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that's where you can see me is over on the Viking Age Undead Walking.
Hey, there's my Twitter. Check me out. I post some photography work up on there. Instagram, I think, is the same name as that one. So check me out over on the old Instagram as well, too. We have Purple People Podcast merchandise. That's up on the Facebook page. There's my photography portfolio. I've been saying it for 8 months now. I'll continue to say it. I really need to update and add some new work to that.
Kyle, how about
the link
this?
is pinned on the top of the Facebook.
How about
channel.
This? We'll make a pact that at some point this week you'll change that, and I will buy a new microphone cord.
Okay.
Let's do this, man. We can do this together.
We can get this done.
There's my stuff if you want to stalk me. If you're in the Charlotte area on Wednesday, I'm a couple miles west of there. I'm playing a show. My son's going to be here and watch me play live for the first time, and I am very, very pumped about that. But that's all we got here at the Purple People Podcast this week. Adam?
We could keep going, but I don't think we will. But so thank you to everyone who joined us in chat. We'll be back next week. We'll talk about more stuff happening in Minnesota Vikings land. In the meantime, stay classy, Minnesota.